You have found what lights you up. I'm your host, Sunny the Life Coach, and I'm here because I see you searching for something or someone out there to help you feel better. Something to take away the pain that you're feeling, the inadequacies. I know all of the things that happen in life can leave you feeling empty. Your search is over. This podcast is all about finding your own freedom and power to love yourself enough to shine in the ways you were always meant to, the ways in which you are already fully capable of. If you're ready for some real talk, some serious truth bombs, and a few F-bombs, you are in the right place. Let's do this. Let's get lit. Hey there, and welcome to another conversation with my brilliant friends. Seriously, I am so very fortunate to have encountered the relationships that I have through coaching. That has really been one of the greatest benefits of this journey. The people that I get to meet and interact with along the way definitely light me up. Coaches who love their clients as much as I love mine are simply the best breed. I'm telling you. And these two women are absolutely representative of that service mindset, which is why I feel it's important to share their perspectives here. This particular episode is a recording that the three of us did several weeks ago for Danielle's podcast, Your Excellent You. And because of this, the format is going to be a little different, and Danielle will be asking the questions. I really enjoyed having this conversation, and I think you'll benefit from hearing it. Now, Danielle works primarily with women entrepreneurs as an intuitive anti-overwhelm coach. I love her approach that following someone else's success path can be a distraction from finding your own and letting go of our attachments to how things should happen creates more ease and flow in your life. Machele understands how easy it is to give up on yourself, your dreams, and your goals, and that the future version of you simply hasn't yet presented because you haven't found a system that works. And she helps you stop looking for different strategies and trying to identify what's wrong so that you can spend all of your energy going for what you do want. Okay, now that I've told you a little bit about these fine ladies, let me tell you why I'm sharing this particular topic here today. As coaches who genuinely care about guiding our clients to the results that they want to create for themselves, in really every area of their lives, we also have awareness of how the industry itself may be promoted or portrayed. Of course, we have some inside knowledge regarding the inner workings of the coaching industry, and we wanted to take a little time to share some perspective with those we are connected to and for the general public. And whether you have ever worked with a coach or are simply considering it, we would like to share what to look out for. There are certain tactics in marketing and selling coaching services that are taught or recommended that might not have the highest good of the client in mind. This is not always intentional, but it is there. And you all know I'm all about awareness. Having some insights of the world around you can be a positive thing as long as you're not over-consuming. I'm also very much a proponent of the power of coaching. Of course, it truly can be a transformative experience in so many wonderful ways if you have a solid connection with your coach. It is, in fact, a relationship, and one that I hope you find so very valuable, whether it's with me, Danielle, Machele, or someone else entirely. All three of us want you to have a positive experience with coaching. How will you know if that connection is there? That's what we're going to discuss here. How to know whether a coach may truly deliver what you need. We're going to address certification, business practices, boundaries, ethics, all things coaching in this episode. Let's get to it.
Okay, thanks guys for being here today. So I am dying to continue our discussion, but now publicly about the life coaching industry and what we have been seeing in terms of, because it's unregulated, it's sort of trendy and hip and popular to call yourself a life coach. But at the same time, a lot of even really big influencers are doing a lot of damage to the term life coaching because they're selling products that maybe they're not qualified to sell, or they are using marketing manipulation to get people to buy their products. And then people are disappointed when it turns out that what they sold isn't in alignment with their own lives. I don't want to name names here, but there's some pretty big influencers who have called themselves life coaches and have betrayed their audience. And I think the whole industry is starting to suffer. So I was hoping you guys could help me, considering if someone is feeling like life coaching is a skeptical industry, like just another marketing popular trend, what would you say to them as they start to question, why would I even hire a life coach? Everybody, literally everybody and their dog is a life coach these days. So what would you say to the skeptics?
I'll take it. This is Michelle. And I think we probably all ran into this when we first got certified, especially like the people that know us well are like, okay, you're a life coach. And I think the interesting thing is there are so many different types of life coaches. It isn't a regulated industry. So there's so many different methods and strategies different coaches use. And the good coaches last. I firmly believe a good coach will last. And so a, a good sign of a coach that's been around for a while, you can almost kind of assume that they're on the up and up, although it's not always a guarantee. It's really interesting in that way. But I think my main advice would be don't let a few bad apples spoil the bucket or whatever that saying is. Because just like doctors, right? There are bad doctors. There are also a lot of amazing doctors. And so with every profession, you get some good, you get some bad. And I would certainly encourage against like canceling out life coaching as an option for you, because there's so much you can accomplish in your life using a life coach who practices ethically.
Yeah, Michelle, thank you for that. This is Sunny, and I want to add to that sentiment that in every industry, there, are some people who are more on the up and up in terms of ethics than others. And that's just humans. That's who we are. And I will remember a conversation that my grandmother had with me a long, long time ago. And she was a therapist, and she was a rock star therapist. Unfortunately for me, she lived in Arizona and I lived in Kentucky. So also, she didn't want to she didn't want to be my therapist because she had a vested interest in me as a person, and that's what she told me. But I was having a conversation with her so many years ago. Oh my gosh, I must have been in my early 20s at the time, and I was just desperate for help and I couldn't find a therapist. And she told me, she's like, look, it's like shopping for a car. It's a commitment. And that is the analogy that she used with me at the time. But she's like, this is a commitment. This is an investment in your mental and emotional health. And you want to make sure that you have the right person for you. So if you have had a few bad experiences, I'm sorry, but don't give up because you have.
I love that. For me, I know the three of us, we are all certified coaches. And having had the conversation offline, we all came to coaching because we've experienced the real powerful effects of working with someone who can help you in this way and whatever your struggles are. So I get that everyone's trying to capitalize on it, but you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because people get real transformations through coaching. It really happens. And that's where I think word of mouth and direct recommendations can go a long way, because anybody, I mean, literally anybody can call themselves a life coach. When I go to networking meetings, I went to one last night, I met every single woman I asked, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a life coach for, and then they named an industry. And I, of course, don't want to call people out like, so are you certified? What does that mean? Not because I have many mentors who are not certified, who are amazing. And I have
Yeah.
some who are certified that aren't. So I don't use the certification as, I see it as a dedication, that a commitment they've made for themselves, not as a qualifier for successful results. So, but I love that analogy. It is like shopping for a car. And if somebody were going to look for a life coach, what advice would you give them as they are, quote, shopping for their car? How would you help them so that they could know whether or not they're getting something that I see a lot? There's a lot of really good marketing can make someone look authentic, even if it's inauthentic in the marketing. And so how can you help somebody filter through the marketing fluff and realize, like, what advice would you give them to filter through that and find out if the person they're talking to is actually someone who can help them?
I think the first bit of advice, and this goes with anything, look for referrals, reach out to your network and your community and find out if you know anyone that's hired a coach, who did they use? What did they think? Was it a favorable experience? And then when it comes down to the beloved marketing funnel, yes, you can have coaches who are freaking geniuses at marketing, but then maybe not so great as a coach. And one of the things the powerful marketers do really well is they almost use a sense of manipulation as far as like, oh, you're doubting that I can help you. That's because you don't believe in yourself. And so it's a really interesting. It's a really trust your intuition, follow your gut. If you reach out to someone and you connect with them on a consultation and you get the sense that they're really pressuring you and pushing you, and any hesitation you have is being put back on you as your own downfall, listen to that. Don't let yourself get pressured into signing up for coaching that you don't feel super comfortable and 100% on board with.
And what do you do? I mean, back to that analogy of the car, what do you do before you before you buy a car, before you make that purchase, before you make that commitment? You test drive it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you want to know if it feels right for you. And sometimes, in just taking it a step beyond referrals, absolutely start with those referrals, but taking a step beyond that, is this person that you're looking at considering hiring as a coach, as a partner, as someone who is going to be in your life? I mean, this is forming a new relationship, right?
Yeah.
And it can be pretty intimate in ways. You're going to be sharing things with this person. So is it, can you trust this person? Can you get a good feel for this person? Can you spend an hour, 45 minutes, or even 30 minutes in a consult or a call with them and just kind of get a feel for how you can interact with that person?
I totally agree with both of you guys. Here's some, I'll just share it with everyone and with Sunny's audience and Michelle's, if you post this to your audience, but also to mine. I have a couple things that I've learned after being on the receiving end of a surprise sales call, where I was lured onto the call, like, hey, let me help you with this. And then it was all of a sudden like, well, let me tell you what I do. Here, you want to sign up. And so I've gotten a few tips and tricks that I've figured out, and I'm just sharing to help whoever's listening. First of all, I have committed to myself that I do not agree to anything on that call. I come into that call and I tell them very blankly, I will not be making this decision today. I sleep on my decisions before I make a commitment. And then I watch how they respond. And they will respond of one of two ways. They will either try to get me to erode my boundaries and talk me out of it, or they will respect my boundaries and they may still continue the sales conversations, but they will acknowledge that I have a boundary and they will respect it. And that immediately tells me I don't want the person who feels entitled or like it's permissible for them to talk me out of something that I've already declared as a way of honoring my own decision-making process. And so that right there, immediately, the person who tries to erode my boundaries, it's a no, because if they're not there looking out for me, if they were, they would say, hey, I respect that. No problem. Let's talk about it some more. and then we'll talk tomorrow. And if they can't do that, then they're not my person right away. There's no results they can give me that I will trust, because I don't trust them to understand me. Because really all I want is my coach to understand me. And a lot of times I know earlier in the call if they understand me, because if they are using my exact words in the conversation, then they're just mimicking me. If they can take my words and reframe it and reinterpret it and help me either to see it differently or to repeat it in a different way, then I know they understand me. And so those clues kind of show up in the call. And then at the end, I just say, I'm not making this decision today. I'm interested. And when they throw scarcity at me, but if you sign up today, you get this and this, say, I go in willing to give up whatever the scarcity is. I just have made it my rule. I do not decide on those calls. And it tells me everything I need to know about that coach.
Oh, I love that. I think that is such solid advice. So solid.
It really is. And I also love that you are acknowledging your boundaries, because let's talk about how many coaches will push back on you and try to get you to change your thoughts on the matter. Okay.
Yeah.
It's only because of your thoughts about what I'm saying that creates this problem. And that's
Yes.
not necessarily true. I love that you are respecting your own boundaries and you are looking for that mutual respect in return.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's
Like,
nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean that something has gone wrong, that you have created this space for yourself, a protective, safe space, and you're looking for that mutual respect. I think that's a beautiful thing.
And that's why I make sure my coaches agree with that, because it's a
yeah.
relationship, right? When you're
Mhm.
entering into a really deep relationship with someone, and just like you wouldn't choose a partner who didn't respect your boundaries, why would you choose a coach? It's the same thing. And so you
Mhm.
certainly, with the money exchange, doesn't change a relationship, a basic relationship. So I'm happy to share that. I hope it benefits everyone, but I will be completely honest. There have been times I've gotten off the call and like an hour, like I wait an hour and I'm ready to like call right back. Like, okay, yeah, I'm
Right.
interested.
Yeah.
Sign me up. Right. But I get off the call and I honor the commitment, which is I don't make decisions on these calls. I sleep on it, and I may not actually sleep on it, but I will wait to respond. I do
Yeah.
not answer on the call. So with that, let's talk about some of the manipulative sales practices that we kind of hinted at, where the coaches are really good at helping people uncover, and I'm just going to say, we're going to cuss, this is an explicit episode, uncover their shit and take a look at it and have to face it. So part of this, sometimes we get on the call and we do need a coach to help us uncover it and let us be uncomfortable with whatever it is that they're uncovering for us, and then coach us to overcoming it. So that is the beauty in coaching.
Mm-hmm.
However, that same skill can be used to manipulate you mentally and to downgrade us. I'd love to know what you guys think of those types of practices, if you've experienced it, and any advice you would have for someone who found themselves sort of being spoon-fed their thoughts and their opinions on the call, and why it's wrong.
Yeah, I'll cover two different things. So one, on the consultation, there's an interesting dynamic when you connect with a coach, because depending on what it is you're trying to transform in your own life, you for sure have part of your brain who's like, not worth the effort. It's never going to work. You don't even try. The part that's like, no, let's just watch Netflix, eat all the things, not do any work here. And so you are going to naturally have some resistance and like just human nervousness around something working. And then the coach's job is to help you overcome that so you don't give up on yourself. But then there's this fine little line between helping you overcome what you're nervous about within yourself to like aggressively trying to get you to sign up to be a client. And so that's why I think intuition is huge in both areas. So intuition is big on the consult because you can feel your way through some shady practices. I do believe our intuition flags us in that way. And then I have for sure have been on the receiving end of, what should we call it? What kind of coaching? How would we term this coaching, where it's every issue you bring, it's like, okay, let's change. Why are you choosing to feel confused?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know, because my body is offering me that option. But I for sure have been on the receiving end of it. And looking back, like my telltale signs, I was annoyed as hell. beyond frustrated. And I would get out of every session. I go, oh my God, what is wrong with me that I have so much resistance to this shit? Why am I having such a problem thinking new thoughts? And surprisingly, never once did I question my own intuition. I never thought, oh, maybe it's because this isn't the right way to do it. And I know that the industry really well, but I still kind of fell for it. So my big thing is listen to your intuition always. And if you keep feeling frustrated and annoyed with the process, like dig deep on that.
I really appreciate that, because there is so much of this that is pervasive. I can see it. I know the two of you can see it. I'm not sure that your, for lack of a better word, average person out there, and by that I mean, okay, everyone's amazing. Everyone is amazing. I mean, non-coaches,
Yeah.
right? So, they're the non-coaches out there who are seeking coaches. We know there is a lot of somewhat sinister, I don't know that it is necessarily intentional, but somewhat sinister, if you will, undercurrent of just change your thoughts, just change your thoughts. Let me coach you on your thoughts. Your thoughts are wrong. No, they don't come out and say that, but it's implied, it's explicitly implied that you will feel better about your life if you can simply change your thoughts. And that isn't always the answer. Sometimes the answer is to actually be in the muck and the mud and the shitty part of it, and experience that as well. So when I say I want to help you feel better, I don't mean you're going to be happy all the time and that it's going to be good for you all the time. That's not how humans are designed. And so I think that if you have a coach constantly trying to sell you on you changing your thoughts about them, about the state of the world, about anything else, I would definitely question that within
I
yourself.
I love this so much. And it brings me to a whole new topic that we could totally discuss, the idea of toxic positivity,
Mm,
which is what I think a lot of people associate with
yeah.
trendy life coaching. It's like good vibes only, or think positive thoughts.
Yeah.
And so that's one of my personal beefs with the term life coach, is they think we're here to help you live a happy life. And Sunny, what you mentioned is, no, the coaches are here to help you figure out how to get through those tough times and enjoy the times that are great. So with that, with toxic positivity, for people who don't know what that is, would either of you like to explain it, or how you see it, and how you think how positive experiences and negative experiences can be balanced within a coaching relationship and with coaching specifically?
Yeah, it's really interesting because this just came up for me. I hosted a webinar over the weekend called How to Stop Beating Yourself Up. And one of the women on there made a comment. She said, oh my God, just tell me how you're always so positive. How is everything always so great for you? And I was like, oh shit, I don't think I'm sharing enough of my mess with my audience. And so, as the universe does, it dished up a real shitty day for me yesterday. And so I was like really in the muck of it. And I think now the difference for me is I'm so much more gentle with myself when I have a really bad day. It's such a gentle process, where before I would have so much frustration and resistance. Now I'm just like, okay, let me just have my own back here. But I went into my Facebook group, I went live and shared that I was having a shitty day and kind of talked about that a little bit. And I had such a huge response to that, because people, and I for sure am guilty of this, like I don't go on there and share all my dirt and all my bad stuff. And so they're like, oh my God, this is so helpful. It's good to know you're human, and that you have bad days too. And so I think it is easy to forget that piece. Certainly is for me.
Yeah. I mean, we want to share the good things. We don't want to, as you said, share our mess. And,
Mm-hmm.
but I have literally had to unfollow some of my friends for a while, kind of snooze them for all of the quote unquote toxic positivity. It is just constant. It's like every other hour. It's like, oh, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. And it isn't. it isn't fucking wonderful. It is
Yeah.
not always wonderful,
Mm-mm.
you know, and I don't want to pretend that it is.
Yeah.
I really don't want to pretend that it is. I don't want to pretend that it is for me, for you, or for any of us, that all you have to do is change your thoughts or think happy thoughts and good vibes only, as you said, Danielle. And I'm just over that. I am so over that. Like, I understand raising your vibration. I really, really do. And, there's a whole scale to that. Sometimes the next best vibration from complete and utter devastation is just anger, right?
Mm.
Anger is a higher vibe than devastation, right? I don't know if
Yeah.
I got that right, but it might be,
It
right?
feels like it to me. Yeah.
For
I
sure.
mean, that just is. Or resentment or jealousy or any of those things that we try to cover up constantly.
Mm.
So sometimes that high vibe just means one step up from where you are in the moment. And I would really, really love it if more coaches would just acknowledge that, instead of trying to paint this beautiful picture of life. And that's the way it should be all the time, because it is not.
Yeah.
Okay, you girls, I'm totally guilty of being the one putting out the positively most of the time. So this reminds me, a lot of times for me, I'm quiet mostly because I'm doing my own healing. And so I don't have a whole lot to say. The only time
Mm.
one thing I did, and I need to do it more. And so I'm just confessing this publicly. I had a failed launch. I love to launch during Mercury retrogrades, which I don't know
Mm.
why, glutton
That's
for punishment.
amazing.
Every time I'm like, oh, look, it's the retrograde. I've scheduled that. And so I had a launch that failed miserably. All the tech went awful. It was not a fun experience. And the thing I did was I turned on my microphone and I just recorded how I felt. And it was very cathartic for me to just get it out there
Mm.
and just say, look, this sucks. I know it's going to be better, but right at this moment, I'm miserable. I am awful. And I just published it. I didn't edit it. It was just a stream of consciousness. But I think it's right. I think I know I struggle with, and since I'm so glad you guys mentioned this, because I clearly need this. I want to be an inspiration for people. I want people to see what's possible. And that means I need to show them what's possible to come out of, in addition to exist as. So I definitely need
Mm.
to focus on that a lot more. I'm challenged with, do I just talk about my everyday life or do I talk about the challenges in business? I don't know, but this is a great topic for me personally to explore, because I don't like toxic positivity. I think it feels good, but it's trying to circumvent some very parts of our human nature, which is we're meant to feel awful sometimes, and we're meant to stay in awfulness for a while sometimes. And what
Yeah.
matters is that we don't unpack and move in the awful space, right? That's what matters, is that we say, okay, I'm here and it's temporary, but I'm not going to move in and settle into this forever. I'm going to
Yeah.
leave the door of possibility open for things to get better.
It's interesting. You might like this, Danielle. I don't know if you were on the call where I talked about hiring myself as a coach.
No.
Yes.
So
Oh, this is so good. I
I
love
had a
this.
successful hot mess happy hour for my group,
Yeah.
and they all celebrated their wins. And at the end, they're like, "What about yours, Michelle?" And I was like, "Oh shit." I couldn't think of anything non-business related. And so I kind of spun out after it a little. I was like, "Oh my God, all my clients are doing great, blah, blah, blah." And so I said, I'm going to hire myself as a coach. And so I literally set up a new client folder. I have 45-minute appointments on my schedule. Like, I literally treat myself like my own client, but I cannot talk about business because that's what I always want to do. And so I force myself to only talk about personal stuff, but I share that. I share the mess on that because I was kind of like you. I didn't want to share the business mess so much, but I'm like, anything I uncover in my coaching sessions with myself in my personal life, I can share. And it's been really fun and people have really loved it.
Oh, that's brilliant. I
It's
love
way
that.
easier to wrap my head around doing that than to share the business mess.
And for the record, for everyone listening, Michelle has an amazing annual business meeting. Can you tell us about that? Because I'm completely embracing this and I think it's genius. So now I'm adding my weekly coaching sessions with myself. But tell us about your annual company meetings.
Yeah, so I started this last year because I wanted to celebrate my 1 year in having a full-time business. And so I rented like a really nice honeymoon resort, or not a resort, but a honeymoon cabin just for myself. literally created my own little agenda. I set it up pretty official. I had a folder with my little business card in it. And so I got to the resort and I unpacked and did all that. And I had my first day with like all business stuff. And I just reviewed my business, what worked, what didn't work so well, and different things like that. And then I wrote myself, future me, a letter where I tried to guess all the things that would be different in my business a year from that day. Fun.
Well, and I love that this will probably continue when you start having a team too. You can
Yeah.
just plan for it, right? It's already baked into your business.
Yeah. It's
That
so
is
fun.
amazing.
Your annual company retreat.
Yeah. I heard a rumor that I might get employee of the year this year. I'm not sure though.
Well, I'm gunning for you. So
put a good word in.
So continuing on, so since the three of us, we are certified life coaches, and we all pretty much agree certification is a personal choice. It's not necessarily reflective of superior coaching skills or not, right? There are amazing coaches who aren't certified and some who are certified that are not as amazing. But do you guys think, should certified coaches be held to a higher standard than uncertified coaches? When to the average public, certification sounds very official and formal, and there's sort of a presumed sense of authority that comes with that. Do you think that they should be held to a higher standard because they've chosen, in terms of integrity and ethics in marketing and ethics in selling and ethics in the results they create for people? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And it's interesting because I met a woman today on a virtual coffee chat who just wants to be a life coach. She's not certified and wasn't really interested in getting certified. And so we were just having a conversation, and there's so much you don't know. And so even if someone has the best of intentions and they're not certified, they don't know what they don't know. And so while they're doing everything they think is amazing, they might be missing things just out of lack of knowledge. And people that are certified, I 100% think should be held to a higher standard. I think anyone in this industry should be, because it's not, I mean, we're not selling marketing services. We're working with people in their mental health, so to speak, and improving their life. It's a pretty big job we're given. So I think I can't imagine any scenario where we shouldn't be held to pretty high standards.
I'm going to take the opposite of that and simply and just take a piece of what you just said, Machele, and that is anyone who is entering this realm as a business and working with people and their emotional well-being and their goals and their lives should be held to a high standard, whether or not they are under a body of an organization or anything like that, because again, there is no regulation in this industry. I feel like if you have chosen this path, the ethics and integrity need to come right along with you. They need to come along for the ride, whether or not you get all of the formal education, if you will. I'm using air quotes now, the formal education. I mean, think about the college degree and the high school diploma. I mean, what does that really mean in the real world? In the real world, what difference does that piece of paper make? I don't know, in terms of ethics and integrity and all of that. So I agree with what you're saying in terms of getting the education and awareness and understanding and running the paces and knowing what you're dealing with. I'm not sure that the piece of paper means you need more or that you should be held to a higher standard. I think every coach should be held to a high standard. That's me.
Yeah.
That's a great argument. Sunny, I originally was with Machele thinking, gosh, I feel like if you are going to invest and call yourself certified coach, because if you're doing that only because of public perception that it somehow means, and I'm using air quotes, superior coaching, then you should be held to a higher standard according to that public perception. But you're right, Sunny. At the end of the day, the entire industry needs to rise to the ethical level of that. And so I'm so glad you said that, because now that I think about it, I think you're right. I didn't start that way, but now I'm like, yeah, she's right. The whole this industry needs to come up to a higher standard because we are dealing with people's well-beings and the effect that words and communications in this relationship has. It can in good and negative ways transforms people's lives for the good or the worse. And
Mhm.
so having the standard across the board seems like the only way to do it now that you mentioned it. So I thank you for that, Sunny.
Well, and I mean, in the spirit of there is no right or wrong, right? There's no right or wrong answer. There just is. And I don't take that as like lip service and coach speak. I really take that as like universal language. There is no right or wrong. There just is. Right.
Yeah.
As I say, right. But that is our language. That is what we do. We are seeking the right answers. We are trying not to be wrong. And so I think that of course we are all certified, and I do recommend certification. And I also, again, yeah, I absolutely stand by the entire industry needs to rise and be ethical and in that area, period.
Oh, I thank you for that so much because now that gives me a lot to think about. So I've got two things. I need to work on my showing off the mess and the standards for the industry.
You don't need to do a damn thing.
Thank
You,
you, Coach Sunny.
you, you decide.
Coming in hot.
Exactly. I would
Need
like
to
to
do anything.
explore it because it feels like something I feel like there's some work to do there. Thank you,
Yeah.
Coach Sunny. And so talking more about just the industry in general. What is realistically possible for an unregulated industry in terms of really we know what the power is. People who have been transformed through coaching know how powerful it is. A good coach can really help you bring out the best parts of you. What would we love to see across the industry? What's the industry that we want to see? Do we see more, I hate to say regulation on people who use the term life coach? Do we have some sort of ethics board? What would you guys suggest?
It's interesting. And I've thought about this. I think it's a tough industry to regulate because there are so many flavors of a coach, or so many people, use the term coach for so many different things. I do like the idea, and this was sparked kind of from what you're working on, Danielle, the idea of maybe having belonging to an ethical coaching association, or having some kind of certification, or I can't even think of the right term for it, that just says like, look, ethics are very important to me, so much so that I invested in my own, and I am part of this association that helps keep me educated on all things ethical in coaching. I do think that's a really interesting idea.
It is. It's almost like, having continuing education requirements, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like that idea of, even if everyone isn't certified again through the same body, or even certified at all, that there be some kind of annual check-in, almost like diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah.
That is its own thing. And there is all kinds of places that you can go to get your schooling, if you will, in areas that you're not sure of, or to keep yourself aware of what is happening in the world around you. I think that would be a really cool thing to do. And I brought up DEI because I just remember Trudy LeBron having an episode on her podcast. I think it was the Business Remix podcast about should the coaching industry be certified, and she made such a damn good argument against it, against the regulation part.
Mhm.
Sorry,
Mm.
that it made so much sense. So I highly recommend checking out that episode. I can't think of it off the top of my head. It's been, oh gosh, a good 6 months or so since I heard it, but it was really well thought out, and she put out some really good arguments on it. So I'm thinking, okay, the highly regulated, maybe not so much, but I'm all for like some continuing education check-in,
Educate people. Yeah.
something.
And it's interesting. I used to work in the dental industry. I wasn't a clinician myself, but I was in the industry. And so we have all these dentists. And then there was a group called the Academy of General Dentistry. And it was an optional academy that dentists could sign up for and go through and be a member of. And it was the easiest way we would tell civilians to find a good dentist. If he's certified, or if he's a member of the Academy of General Dentistry, he's a good dentist. He cares about his patients. So it is very similar. The idea that this ethical organization could be like that thing. Like if they have this ethical, if they're a member of this ethical association, they're for sure in it for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really interesting to think about.
It is, because it would be an opt-in.
It's kind of surprising it doesn't exist right now, to be honest.
Yeah. As you guys know, this is one of my hot points.
Yeah.
Although I haven't shared with my audience, but I think unethical coaches, especially if they are celebrity coaches, to use the term loosely, they're whether it's intentional or just irresponsible, it doesn't really matter, because the effect is the same to people. When you impact people's opinion of life coaching, it affects a lot of people. So let's raise the bar and let's hold ourselves to a higher standard, right? People today are talking about white privilege. We weren't talking about this 2 years ago, but we've all seen it. We understand it now, and we can see our own, how we've fallen short. For me, I'm a half white woman. I see it. And so now that I know, I do better, right? And I don't want to perpetuate that. And so the idea that there's some standards that say, hey, here's how we can do this better, how we can create more good than harm, can really, I think, in my opinion, and along with you guys, can really transform this industry from being just another trend. Self-development's trendy. It's a multi-level marketing for self-development type format, and really legitimize the impact that coaching has on individuals.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought up multi-level marketing.
Yeah.
For what'd you say, self-development, self-improvement?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that. I feel that, not just having recently watched LuLaRich, but thanks for the recommendation, Michelle. Oh boy.
Oh, you're welcome. I got in quick.
Not just having recently watched that, but I think that it just kind of all came together for me. Like I've been feeling that brewing within the coaching industry, that kind of, just thinking about it from that perspective as an MLM. And it isn't. I mean, we're all entrepreneurs, and we don't have an upline. We do not have an upline. We do not have a downline. We are who we are, and we are in it for the highest good. But how do you distinguish yourself from all of the other, for lack of a better word, the cookie cutter coaches out there who are really, who are running the Facebook ads like crazy and beating down your door to say, I can fix it all for you.
Yeah.
Just
I
pay
think
me.
your reputation, I think, is what helps set you apart. And, some of the people you're referencing, I think in the beginning genuinely had the best of intentions. They're like, I just want to help these people. And then they get really good at helping these people, right? They have this, I'm going to help my clients create this one specific result, and I'm going to get really good at doing it. And it's amazing. And they do get really good at doing it. And then all of a sudden, this little thing happens where they said, okay, I'm going to stop worrying about my client's result, and I'm going to start worrying about mine. So now I'm going to, instead of hyper focusing on creating the best result I can for my client, I'm going to create the best result I can for myself. And that's, I think, the intersection where shit goes south. That's where you see coaches who are so synonymous with over delivering stop over delivering. Then it becomes more of a money game. And it's an unfortunate trend to watch unfold because there are amazing coaches out there that get wrapped up in this. And maybe it is an easy thing to do when you get to that level. I mean, I would like to think I wouldn't get sucked into that. And God forbid, if I ever do, one of you two need to like schedule an intervention. But I think that's the big difference. And that does become obvious over time, I think. Yeah.
I wish I could heart the sentence, instead of creating the best result for my client, I'm creating the best result for myself. I think that summarizes that line where you've crossed into questionable marketing and coaching practices.
Yeah. And I think it's an easy one to cross. And then it's almost like probably like drug addicts go through. It's like, oh, I took one hit. Now I'm living in an alley somewhere. It just happens fast, I would imagine. It is an interesting industry. It definitely is.
And I think the importance of mentors and peers who call you out on it, right? There's that checks and balances in your life, because it's what I've seen for the people who have made that switch from getting the best result for the clients to getting the best result for themselves. Their mentors are doing the same, and they're following the people in front of them.
Yeah, it creates that trickle down effect.
Yeah.
And then you've got a room full of people. Of course, this is amazing. I'm doing it too. And it's interesting.
Just
and
like
normal.
an MLM.
Yeah, exactly. And Lulu Rich is the perfect example.
Want moldy leggings? It's not mold, it's a pattern.
Wow, that is so interesting. Yeah, literally is trickling down. That is so good. You ladies are like bending my brain right now. That's really good.
Yeah,
it's really good.
So with that, if you guys have anything else to add, let's add it. Otherwise, we can start wrapping up, because my brain is, the wheels are spinning, and I'm like off the rails, ready to go digging deep in some of this stuff.
Yeah.
You guys have anything else you want to add before we wrap up the episode?
You've been making your list over there, Danielle.
I have.
I think I would say, if you're entertaining hiring a life coach, and if you're Danielle or Sunny's listener and you've been on the fence about it, reach out, go through the process. You can for sure trust these two. Go through the process, get a feel for how they can help you, because life coaching can flip your life upside down in the best of ways ever. And it's totally worth at least giving yourself a chance to hear about how it works, find out how each of them could help you. And if you want to seek other coaches out in the industry, give it a shot. Book consults with 3 different coaches. And I would follow Danielle's trick. Let each of them know, I'm not deciding today. I'm not driving that damn car off the lot.
That's right.
And then go with your freaking intuition. Always trust your intuition. Always, always, always.
That is so good. I love Danielle's approach to of not giving an answer on that, because unfortunately in this industry, that is one of the things that we are taught, is like to close the sale on the call, and that kind of thing. And it's never been about that for me. It's been the same thing. I've been feeling out that relationship myself. Is this a client that I would like to have in my life? I mean, is it? I don't know. Again, it is, and it can be an intimate relationship. We expect that you trust us enough to share what is really, really bothering you. If you want to go on this journey with us, and I'd love to walk alongside you on that journey, then it is definitely a huge step toward trust. And I think just taking your time in that, I've had clients tell me, I'm not ready to make a decision this week. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let me know when you are. I'll be right here. I'm good.
Yeah.
Be right here doing my thing. I'm ready for you when you are. That's it. We are not used car saleswomen. We are not.
No, we are not.
I love how we were able to carry that analogy all the way through, though. Thank you to my grandmother.
I didn't even connect the dots. It's so funny, Sunny.
Well, I love it. And I think there's a lot of people like us. I think we're going to start slowly seeing a revolution in the industry as people, both coaches start aligning to their integrity and people start not writing off the power of life coaching, but also falling into their own integrity as they choose who they let have that much space in their mind. And so I'm very hopeful for the industry. I think we are headed in a good direction. I think there will be bumps in the road. I think that's just inevitable with an industry like this that is growing and booming. And so I feel like if anyone is considering life coaching, give it a try. If you get a couple bad coaches, a couple bad calls, don't disregard the entire industry, because really we're all here because it's changed our life. When we understood our minds at the deepest level, it changes every area of your life because you're the only constant in your life. Everything else is a variable. And when you change, everything changes. So that's my best advice, and how I would send everybody off in this episode is find your person. Life coaching is amazing. Things are going to get better. You've had a bad experience, write that off as a bad experience and find your person to help you with whatever problem you're struggling with, because there's someone out there who's ethical and who will be able to help you with what you want. So
Yes, yes, yes.
I love it. Thank you so much for putting this together, Danielle.
Yes, thank you.
absolutely.
Yay.
Thanks so much. And thanks for being here. And we will talk again soon. Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I just adore and appreciate these two. We always have fun conversations, and as Danielle said in the beginning, we just decided to press record one day and go with it. It really flowed so naturally in the moment, and I hope we provided some helpful insights for you. What I really want you to take away from this is that coaching is a powerful relationship formed on trust and mutual respect. There are many wonderful coaches in the world, and others that aren't so great. And this is true for any industry, of course, as we stated. Accreditation or sometimes even experience doesn't automatically translate to, this is the person for me. Ask questions, check references, do a little research, and overall check in with your own intuition based on what you discover along the way. Why I love the analogy of shopping for a car even more is that your coach could actually serve as the vehicle to take you places you may never have been, yet you remain in the driver's seat. Feeling empowered in that relationship is so very important. You want someone who is knowledgeable and also accessible. You want someone to walk or drive with you on your path. And I assure you that any one of us that you heard here today will give you the support, compassion, and respect that you deserve. Check the show notes for ways to connect with each of us. Light up, shine on.